The Best in the World podcast with Richard Parr.
It's Wednesday, so that can only mean one thing. You are listening to The Best in the World with Richard Parr, where we dissect what Olympic champions, world record holders and world number ones do to be the very, very best. On this week's show, we have a 5-time Olympic champion swimmer, Nathan Adrian. Fantastic chat. I'll tell you more about that in just a moment. But first, I want to tell you about this week's sponsor. This week's sponsor is brought to you by Sportacino. It is a brand new sports breakfast show on Facebook Live every morning at 8 a.m. UK time. It's a fun discussion show all about sports, all about health, all about nutrition. There'll be guests, there'll be competitions, there'll be product reviews, there'll be quizzes, and there will be lots of information and chat about the latest sports stories. And it is hosted by me, Richard Parr. Yes, I am promoting something I am involved with myself. It is Sportacino. The website has just launched. It's sportacino.com. But if I can ask you to do one thing, I would love you to like the Facebook page. It's facebook.com/Sportacino. That's SPORTUCCINO. The first episode is on October the 3rd, 2016. We will be at 8 a.m. every weekday morning, Monday to Friday. Don't miss it. And if you do miss it, of course, it'll be repeated on Facebook, but it will also be on YouTube. And if you love podcasts, which you clearly do because you're listening to The Best in the World with Richard Parr, it will also be available as an audio podcast on iTunes. Well, let's get back to talking about this week's podcast. The very, very great Nathan Adrian is on the show. 5-time Olympic champion swimmer from the United States. He swam in relays with Michael Phelps and Ryan Lochte and all the other great American swimmers. And we talk about a whole load of things, in particular sleep, in particular social media. Talking about social media, I actually asked my audience on Twitter at Richard_Parr if anyone had any questions for Nathan, and you'll see in today's show that I asked these questions. So if ever you see me put on Twitter that I've got a guest coming up and I'm asking for questions, I will say who you are and what your question is. If I like your question, I will use it on the show. So please be involved in the conversation. So that's my Twitter page at Richard_Parr. We also talk about Nathan's greatest achievements in swimming. We talk about how many calories he can have. And we even talk about the Nathan Adrian Drive. Yes, he's even had a road named after him, his own street. We talk all about that. So rather than me telling you all about what we talk about, let's listen to it. Let's listen to the very best in the world. Let's listen to Nathan Adrian.
The Best in the World podcast with Richard Parr.
Nathan Adrian, welcome to The Best in the World with Richard Parr. The Olympic Games finished just a few weeks ago now, so what have you been up to since?
Well, there's been a lot of traveling involved, here, there, everywhere. I think my record so far is spending 3 nights in my own bed at home.
Is that weird? Are you enjoying it, or do you actually want to just be at home and just relax, or is it kind of still the bit of the post-Olympics buzz?
All of the above. There's some days where I'm like, oh man, like this is awesome. This is great. I love, just taking a little bit of time outside of just training. And then there's other days where I'm in the pool and I'm like, man, this is why I love this. I love to train. I love to try to get better. So, I guess it depends on the day or even the time of day when you ask me.
Do you feel sluggish now when you get in the pool? Because obviously when you're training for the Olympics, you're getting yourself to like an extreme level, probably the best you've ever been in your life. And then even just a few weeks later where you're probably not training as much, you're probably enjoying food, which you might not have been eating in the weeks leading up to the Olympics. Do you really notice it when you go in the pool?
Yeah, it's actually pretty surprising how much, you can just kind of regress in something as small as a month. What's crazy is it really teaches you how much, daily life can affect your performance outside of the pool. I'm keeping myself pretty busy, going from like 7 a.m. until, whenever my day is over. So, and then I try to fit training in, whereas when I'm training for the Olympics, for instance, my day revolves around practice, and when I'm not practicing, my day revolves around recovering. So I can really focus in on my training and make sure that's the high point of my day. Whereas now I just kind of try to fit in some overall fitness workouts in whenever I can.
Well, let's go into a little bit more detail of those daily routines, those daily training plans and everything like that. But one thing I particularly want to go on is how much sleep do you get? Because you look at someone like Roger Federer now, who's playing tennis still at such a high level. And I believe about a year ago when he was still competing high in slams, he was saying it's because he was getting 11 hours sleep per night. And it was this improvement in sleep which was helping him maintain his performance. Now, you say you're getting up at 7 these days until your day ends. Now, when you have your day training and you have everything scheduled, is it I go to bed at this time and I'm up at this time? Is that how it works for you normally?
Yeah, I'd say I do try to maintain some sort of a schedule where I go to bed at the very latest at 10 o'clock. Ideally it's before then by a good bit. Even on days where I can sleep in the next day, I think it's important to try to get to fall asleep at the same time, just because that's when your body's ready for sleep. There's so much, there's so much momentum when it comes to something like sleep, and that's why it takes forever to get over jet lag when you go somewhere.
And what about screens? Are you staring at screens before you go to sleep, like your iPhone or TV, or is that banned from your bedroom?
No, that's not necessarily banned. I definitely use that night shift function on my iPhone to help just lower a little bit of the blue light exposure. I definitely wear a good eye mask, and I've gotten used to sleeping in earplugs just in case I ever need them if I'm in a noisy hotel room or whatever. I find that definitely helps a lot.
Can you sleep anywhere? Can you be on a plane and sleep? Can you be on a train and a car, anything like that?
Not as well as I used to when I was a little bit younger. I was younger and smaller, so that certainly helped. But I definitely I can catch some sleep in a lot of different places.
So how was Rio for you? How was the whole experience? Obviously, it was your third Olympic Games. Did you achieve the goals that you'd set for yourself?
Rio was great. I had a fantastic experience. And when you necessarily say, did you achieve your goals, I would have loved to come away with 4 gold medals, but I did come away with 4 medals. So I guess if you're looking for a binary answer, I guess no. But at the same time, I'm not upset. I put in the work, I put in the training I felt was necessary to try to go in there and compete, and we did that, and we came away with 4 medals.
I've already heard that you're definitely going to go to Tokyo, that you plan to go to Tokyo and work towards that. Will then that be added motivation, the fact that, like you said, in a binary answer, no, you didn't achieve your goals? Is that going to really help you focus and set those goals? Is that going to motivate you more?
I guess so. I've never really needed extra motivation. I'm not one of those guys. I love the process. I love the sport. I love watching your hard work that you put in, day out. Ending up on the other side in manifesting themselves in improvements. So it's not like I really need that one thing to really hold on to, so that during tough practices I can grind it out a little better. That's not necessarily how I work.
Well, the Paralympian Tanni Gray-Thompson, who I think she was 5, maybe 6, I can't remember, Paralympic Games, she said after every one, they then re-sit down and they decide, are we going to plan for the next 4 years and look at it a 4-year cycle. Now, at the moment, you're just relaxing, enjoying yourself, and rightly so. When will you then start to think, okay, now we have to think about this next cycle? And how will you do that? Will you sit down with your team, or will you have things in your mind? Will it be worked out year on year? How does that all work? Because obviously you've been to 3 Olympics, so you know a little bit about doing this.
That's another good question. We've definitely thought about some preliminary things. I've had a sit-down meeting with my coach, and this break now is out of design. We're going to slowly work our way back into competitions this fall, and I'd say in probably another 3-4 weeks or so is when I will find myself in what I consider full training. But the real emphasis and focus will probably start come January 1st. And that's when we'll start really, putting down a good regiment for training for long course and world championships this summer.
Oh, great. So you've got a few more months just to relax and enjoy yourself. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
With all the accolades you've achieved and Hall of Fames you've been put in, one of the things I saw that you were awarded, I believe it was after your success in 2012, was that you had a street named after you in your hometown. The Nathan Adrian Drive. How did that feel? And is the street nice? Did they give you a nice street?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great street. It has a nice little water view. It has a couple little houses on it. I was honored by that. I mean, it's been great. The kind of support I get from my hometown, and even going back there this year after Rio, I got to look a bunch of kids in the eye in my high school auditorium and say, hey, listen, I was literally in those same seats. They haven't changed in 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So that was something special to me where I get to go back and say, hey, I was there. Certainly if not necessarily in swimming, but in whatever it is that they want to pursue or follow, if they really follow it with a strong enough passion, that they can achieve what they want.
And of course, in the last month or so, you've been able to do various media appearances. I believe you did something with Chelsea Handler, that you did something with Vice. You're now on the prestigious Best in the World with Richard Parr show, of course.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. But some of your teammates, such as Ryan Lochte and Michael Phelps, they get a massive amount of attention. How much do you enjoy it? And do you feel you could ever cope with the type of level of attention that they get?
That's a great question, man. I couldn't answer it, well enough to at a satisfactory level unless I was there, right? I can speculate all I want, and I'm not sure. It's tough. With the level that it's at right now, it's certainly not without its struggles for some days. Sometimes I just want to eat dinner with my friends and not take a picture. But that certainly doesn't really happen these days.
And we mentioned Michael Phelps, and there was that famous video in the Olympic Games of him mentally preparing for the race, where he just had the sternest, most focused face you've ever seen, and you've kind of got Chad Leclos kind of dancing around, relaxed and everything like that. Now, every different athlete has their own mental preparation. Now, one of the things that I heard about you is that you don't like to necessarily listen to kind of music, and because the Olympic experience is enough. But one thing I did hear is you like to listen to folk music. Is that right?
Oh, folk music. Oh, you know what? That is true. But it certainly wasn't before a race.
Oh, okay.
That's more of a de-stress thing. It's like I was in my, it was actually Olympic trials. And Olympic trials is a very, very stressful event. I don't know if I could really, fully put it into words how stressful that entire experience is. It's great, don't get me wrong, but with the expectations of making the Olympic team are just pretty tough. And to de-stress, just listening to some slower folk music is just a way that, that helps me de-stress. It's, today on the radio, all you hear is like hip hop and EDM and some sort of hybrid between the two. So, I definitely, in order to relax, had to listen to something that was a little bit more acoustic.
So any particular folk artists you'd recommend?
Nothing in particular. It's just like, whatever pops up on the Spotify radio.
Okay, fair enough. And you said that it's to keep you calm, and you've said in the last month or so you're kind of getting your arms pulled left, right, and center, photo, this, that, the other. But being able to do many different things at the same time is something you've always been able to do. Like, you went to the University of California in Berkeley, studied public health. How were you able to juggle training and studying at the same time? Do you have any kind of like life hacks to help people trying to do that?
Yeah. I mean, it's just called compartmentalization. You just gotta, you gotta focus on what the task is at hand. And that's kind of the way I kind of approach everyday life. It's like, hey, I have, this interview, for instance. It's like I'm fully engaged in this interview, and then after this, it's on to the next thing, and then on to the next thing, and try to fully engage in whatever it is that you're going to be doing. And sometimes that multitasking for me, for instance, just never works. Like I can't do it at a really high level. So it's really just engaging in whatever you're doing.
So then how important is it to have a team around you to help you with that? And how did you find some of the members of your team to help you do that?
Well, it is important to be around a group of people that have a similar mindset. Otherwise, it's easy to get distracted and kind of wonder, hey, am I doing the right thing? Whereas, when you have a good group around you, you're just, you're ready to go, and that the entire group is focused on one goal, and it's just kind of easier to do everything in a group like that. And honestly, I mean, I had that group at Berkeley. It kind of has attracted that talent and that level of athlete that can aspire to be, Olympians and Olympic champions. So I'm lucky that I can still be a part of that group.
And you say you like to tackle each thing at a time. Now, one of the things I hear you're afraid of is actually open water, because even though you're a swimmer, but you normally swim in a pool, you're afraid of open water. Have you ever tried to conquer that fear?
I'm actually in the process of doing that now. I had a little swim in the lake, which is always a little bit easier, just because, as scary as the potential idea of a lake monster is, they're definitely not sharks. But even this is as recent as this morning. I was out in the ocean, obviously at more shallow depths. And just playing in the waves a little bit. I find that each time I go in and each time I'm with my friends, I think that the fear just becomes just a little bit less, as long as I'm not going, exposing myself too much where, it kind of becomes, it just kind of takes over. So just little exposure here and there, and I've certainly found myself getting over it a little bit.
The Best in the World podcast with Richard Parr.
We'll be back with more from Nathan Adrian in just a moment, but I want to tell you that today's podcast is also brought to you by audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/best. Over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. If you've listened to one of our many episodes before, you know this is a product that I personally use. And you also probably know that by using this code, by using this link, by using this free audiobook download and 30-day free trial, you are helping me, because this is the sponsor and this helps produce this show for you every week to learn from the very best. So one more time, that link is audibletrial.com/best for your free audiobook download and 30-day free trial with audible.com. I tried it myself and I got hooked. I download a book every week. that I listen to, and I often recommend them to you here on The Best in the World with Richard Parr. Well, what I recommend is that we go back to our interview with Nathan Adrian, because he has got lots of information that we can learn from.
The Best in the World podcast with Richard Parr.
Before we did this interview, I sent out a tweet to see if any of your fans had any questions for you for the show. And I've got to say, one lady in particular, Chow Michaela, I think that's how you say it,
Okay.
she had a lot of questions for you. And so clearly a big fan. Some of them are great. If you don't mind, I might read some of them out, because there's no point me asking people for questions if I don't use any of them. So
Great.
let's go with this one. Love the Team USA Carpool Karaoke video. What's your favourite Pokemon character and go-to karaoke song?
Favorite Pokemon character? Shoot, that's a good question. Of course, I am more of an original Pokemon gamer. I had the original red version when I was a kid on the big old Game Boy. So I was a Charmander guy myself. So I'll just go with the Charmander from the original three that you got to choose. And then shoot, what was the other part of the question?
What would be your go-to karaoke song?
Oh shoot, go-to karaoke song. I Want to Love Somebody, Whitney Houston. That's always a good one.
Oh wow, that's one of my favourite songs ever. I'm interested to hear a male voice perform that. So, if there's any paparazzi next time you're doing karaoke, I'd love to see that, because that's one of my favourite songs. More embarrassing for me, it's Enrique Iglesias' Hero. So it's bit of a ballad. You know, getting down on the knees and everything. So, another question from Chow Michaela is, how does social media fit into the life of an Olympic athlete like yourself, and what's your approach to it?
I think that's kind of an individual question. I couldn't necessarily answer that for anybody else other than myself. And it's interesting, right? Social media is there's a balance between sharing what you find is important and just oversharing. I don't think anybody wants to know what I'm doing every second of every day of my life, but just tidbits here and there, just kind of a glimpse into what we're doing. When it comes to swimming, what we're doing in the weight room or what we're doing in the pool to try to help us get better, and then just a little bit outside of that to try to just have a good time and share a little bit outside of that, very specific world with your followers. So, for me, I try to, have somewhat of a consistent presence, although lately, I know I've certainly not been quite as good. But, I think social media is a really fun world where you get to know, people on different levels than you were ever able to get to know them, before it came out.
It really does help connect the world. Well, I'll take two more questions from the Twitter. I hate that term, from the Twitter, but I've said it anyway. Firstly, one serious. It's just Twitter. One serious and then one a bit more fun. So the serious one is your thoughts on the recent hack and leak of Olympians' medical records, such as Simone Biles, Serena Williams, and things like that.
Oh man. Well, I mean, the truth is, that WADA has a protocol, and all of us know that protocol. It's like these hackers are trying to expose that we're taking some sort of performance enhancing drugs, but there's a reason that Simone, for instance, has a prescription for that medication. She's diagnosed with ADHD. And I don't know. It's not something that she was really hiding. I don't think necessarily from the world. It's just kind of how we go about drug testing. It's kind of an interesting thing in how they are spinning that and trying to draw parallels between that and something like state sponsored, or what could potentially be state sponsored doping.
All right, let's get a little bit more less serious with the last one from Twitter. And I'm assuming you like this series. Favorite Game of Thrones character and thoughts on the abbreviated upcoming season.
I mean, I'm bummed out about the abbreviated upcoming season. But I think that anything that they choose is going to be what's best for the series as a whole. It's not like they're just like abbreviating the season because they're running out of money. Everybody loves Game of Thrones. It's like they're making sure that they're telling the story in the way that the author and the producers want to tell the story. So that's fine with me. And then favorite Game of Thrones character, I think Jaime Lannister has like so many different layers to him that I find that really interesting. I mean, especially as you rewatch it, like he was just such a villain at first, and then he comes around and just proves to be very misunderstood. And then obviously Jon Snow. You just have to root for Jon Snow.
Everyone loves Jon Snow. I like Daenerys as well, and Tyrion Lannister. Have you heard any of the interviews with Jaime Lannister when he's doing his normal voice? I think he's from Denmark or one of the Scandinavian countries.
I haven't.
He sounds completely different. I think they do an interview of him on the Nerdist podcast, and it just completely throws you. It's pretty
awesome.
confusing.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, no, it's very, very interesting. So I just want to go back to your routine and your training and everything like that, because before the Olympics started, I read an article of what the top Olympians eat. And one of the things I read, as we mentioned your teammate Ryan Lochte earlier, is that I read that for him, because he's swimming so much, he can have as many carbs as he likes for dinner, and it can be McDonald's and Burger King and things like that. Is that true for a top swimmer like yourself? Can you pretty much eat anything, and do you?
That's again an individual question. I guess kind of, but not really. There's really just no time in my life, even when I'm training extraordinarily hard, that I need to ingest like over 1,000 calories at one time.
Yeah.
I may be I'm burning a ton of calories like through the day, no doubt. Like yesterday on my little tracker, I mean, without even tracking 2 of my swims throughout the day because it's not waterproof yet, I got over like 5,000 calories. Wow. So we can eat a lot, but there's just no reason that I eat that many calories in one sitting. So the more I can spread it out, the better. Obviously, the more whole grains and complex carbs that I get throughout the day, I feel that's better. Simple carbs definitely have their time and their place, though. Like people have kind of made sugar the enemy in a lot of ways, but that's not necessarily the case for an athlete where we're going to a point of glycogen deprivation or depletion. I mean, where we need that sugar. We need that sugar to fuel our muscles. So it has its time and its place.
So how does your day start when it comes to food? What do you have for breakfast?
Usually some oatmeal with some frozen berries, and then this is when I'm really on top of the game. Honestly, right now my fridge and my pantry is quite empty, unfortunately. But oatmeal, frozen berries, flax seeds, chia seeds, and then maybe some source of protein. I'm going to try to hit anywhere from like 10 to 20 grams of protein before that morning swim.
What type of protein? Actual meat? You'll have like a little bit of steak or something, or would it be like a protein shake?
No. I mean that just varies. It's definitely not meat unless I'm really desperate and have something in the fridge that I can warm up really quick. It's just something quick, It's a hard-boiled egg here or there, or it's just if I don't have time, it'll be like a core power or something.
And you've had so much success throughout your career. You broke the world record in the 4x100 meters freestyle when you went to the Olympics in 2008 in Beijing. And then your one individual gold was at the London 2012 Olympics in the 100 meters freestyle. What would you say is your most proudest medal and achievement?
Actually, I'd have to say the 4x100 freestyle relay from 2012. From 2016. I got to see and experience the 2008 relay, but I was only on the prelims of that one. So it was really awesome, but it was also, I was like, man, I love that, but I really like to be on the final. Fast forward 2012, I was on the finals, and we weren't necessarily, we were just racing to get a medal. Everybody had kind of counted us out. We were just racing to try to get on the podium, and we got silver, and it was a close race. So we were like, yeah, you know what? Like, I am proud of that, and I still am proud of the way that Team USA raced for the gold in that 2012 race. But 2016 was really special because we had definitely been counted out. 2015 came along, our World Championships. We were just bad. There's no two ways about it. We were not where Team USA should have been at that point. We didn't even make finals. So, with that happening, I remember saying to some reporters at that point, I was like, listen, this just happened, but don't count us out. We got a lot of young guys that are still at home. We had left Michael Phelps off of that team, and that was unfortunate. We could have used him. But we'll be back next year competing. And, the way that people were looking at me, I'm not sure if they believe me or not. But then come 2016, it was myself, Michael, and two young athletes that just absolutely stepped up and knocked it out of the park and had great legs on that relay.
Well, Nathan, this has been a fantastic chat. Thank you so much for your time. I'll let you go and concentrate on your next thing you've got lined up. Just before you go, maybe give our listeners your contact details on Twitter and social media so people can continue to follow your amazing career and life.
Great, thank you. It's Nathan G. Adrian on Twitter and Instagram, and then if you just search up Nathan Adrian on Facebook, just look for the fan page with the blue check mark.
Well, thank you so much for that, Nathan Adrian. Thank you for being the best in the world.
Thank you for having me.
The Best in the World podcast with Richard Parr.
Thanks again to Nathan Adrian for appearing on The Best in the World with Richard Parr. It was nice to have a little bit more light-hearted questions in there, such as Game of Thrones, such as karaoke, such as Pokemon. It's the kind of things that I like. I think Nathan and I are pretty similar in age and years, both 80s childs. So there was that rapport that we had on those type of things. Of course, the main point of this show is to learn from the very best about the 1% differences that they do to become the very best, and we got that with Nathan as well. So a really well-rounded chap from the very, very best from the world of swimming. If you like the show, do me a favor, go on iTunes, give me a rating and review. It'll take you like 2 minutes. I tweeted a video the other day showing exactly how you can do it. It's pretty easy. My Twitter's at Richard_Parr. I'll probably retweet it again. I might even make my own video for you guys so you know exactly how to do it. It's really easy and it really helps the show. Also, if you're not following me on Twitter, then do that. But if you're not following us on Facebook, please like the Facebook page. It's Best in the World with Richard Parr. And, you can listen to us on iTunes and also on Stitcher, but also on our website, richardparr.net. There's also a contact page there if you want to get in touch. I'm interested to hear what you like about the show, what you don't like about the show, and who you'd like to have on it, so we can continue to learn from the greatest sports stars on the planet. Okay, that's all from me this week. I'll be back next Wednesday. Take care.
The Best in the World podcast with Richard Parr.